Well, it's 3:05, so we might as well get started. Maybe we'll have some more people come in today. We're just having an open forum talking about yesterday's inauguration and anything related to what it was like for your station too, running, or just in general. Oh, here's Davine. We'll just wait for her since might as well. Hi, Davine. We were just getting started. Just talking about the open forum, talking about the inauguration yesterday. I got to watch some of it. It was really nice and relieving to watch. Thought it was nice speeches, and Lady Gaga blew me away. I was kind of emotional during that.
Wasn't she great?
And I'll just remind everyone, for people who are new or relatively new, I'm Stephanie Schubert in Ames, Iowa, the operations coordinator for Pacifica Network. And so that's my first impressions. And then maybe I'll just pass it on to someone. And then if someone has a deeper topic they want to get into, yeah, bring that up in the introductions, and then we'll see where it goes. So this must be someone on the phone. Okay. Let's see. I want to pass it on to Jeannie.
Sure. I actually watched television more than I listened to the radio, so I don't know what that speaks to in terms of our line of, our passion here. But yeah, I was just like, you could see so many small decisions were made that you would never envision being made by the Trump administration at all. So yeah, I was moved, like when Eugene Greenwood, the Capitol security officer, escorted
Yes.
Kamala Harris down to the door. I was like, now that's a sensitive, last minute, adaptive choice that I couldn't even envision, under the previous administration. So anyway, it was just me and my friends. My social media scroll. I was on social media a lot, also not on the radio, but on social media a lot. Just the breath of relief, And today we go back to work. Make change.
And you're coming to us from California today?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I'm Jeannie Trezino. I'm a board member for KZFR 90.1 in Chico, California, Northern California.
Excellent. Thank you. And why don't you pass it on to somebody, Jeannie? And I forgot to mention that our introductions are usually around 2 minutes, just so we can get everyone to say hi, and then we can get into bigger discussions as we go.
Okay, I'm going to pass it on to Luis Valdez.
Hi, everyone. Luis here, KMSW in San Antonio. This is only my second time at these meetings, so thank you.
Did you say, it's Luis, not Louis?
Yes, Luis.
Luis, okay, thank you.
I didn't watch much of the inauguration. I'd been spending way too much time following and thinking about what could happen and all that. I was like, if anything happens, like I need to have my mind clear. I know that a lot of us need a catharsis and all. I was okay with it. I caught up on some highlights afterwards, and everything seemed well produced, very well thought out. So that was a good change of pace, just from the production point of view. The I don't know. It was cool, some sense of normal. I was like, because there wasn't as much drama, I figured like maybe most of us didn't have to exhale quite as hard today. Yesterday was the exhale. And I'd like the conversation we were having last time with business models and all that. All that stuff is new to me. I'm building out a program here for the first time. So, for some of you who've been doing this a while, it's the old hat. So But I really liked hearing all those things you all had to say.
Oh, that's great. And we'll have a part 2 for that one too coming up. So we can keep that conversation going. That was a good one. Luis, do you want to pass it on?
All right, Cynthia, how you doing?
Oh, Cynthia, you're muted.
I watched it yesterday and I found it entertaining. I loved Lady Gaga. I loved Jennifer Lopez and the lady that did the poetry. That was phenomenal. And you know what? I look at it as a tradition, and I'm just gonna wait and see how it all goes. But it was entertaining. That's how I feel.
Nice.
Yep.
Well, thank
Uh,
you, Cynthia.
should I pass it on?
Sure.
Steve?
And Cynthia, where are you coming from? Can you remind us?
Albany, New York.
Okay.
Yep. Steve, are you
Okay.
there?
Yeah, I'm here. This is Steve, and I'm coming to you from my office, from my piano down in New Paltz, New York. And I probably came away with a lot of concerns yesterday that I knew were coming. I've never been one to care much about the triumph of the will stadium spectacle of political symbolism, of mainstream power, only because mainstream power is, very willfully and inherently violent and corrupt. And so we did see basically, a sense of relief, right? That, okay, Trump's not president anymore. And, for just as a joke I was having with one of my own kids earlier today, what are the late night hosts going to be talking about for the next 2 weeks? Because it's going to take them at least that long to figure out the cadence of the new people they're going to be making jokes about. So maybe they all just need to take a vacation for a couple of weeks and come back in late February. But more than what was happening on stage in the prepared and produced spectacle of the day was really, to me, was the framework that was established the day before when Biden announced that even a temporary emergency Medicare for all was going to be off the table, and instead we'd be subsidizing AHIP COBRA plans indefinitely, for 12 times the cost that it would cost to just put the unemployed temporarily onto Medicare. I noticed that he said through a proxy, his Secretary of State nominee, that he is officially recognizing Juan Guaido as the president of Venezuela. I can't understand that. Guaido has maybe 5% popular support in that country, and it's the 5% associated with the former oil oligarchy at a time when we're not even supposed to be using oil anymore. So I don't understand. None of this is unexpected to me. I don't really care. I already know that Lady Gaga sings well. I'm a musician and I know what's happening in popular music. Lady Gaga's a great singer, right? Great. So you hire a great singer the same way Obama hired, Yo-Yo Ma, who's a great cellist, and we know that, right? It didn't establish anything.
15 seconds.
Yeah, what was established was the announcements the night before. And as I was joking about during the inauguration speech, if anybody was playing a drinking game based on the game Unity, they all would have died of acute alcohol toxic poisoning before the speech was over. So I'm going to wait and see.
Okay. Thank you, Steve. I did like thinking on that thought that the WPFW's theme when they were covering the election was not back to normal, and I thought that was something important to keep in mind. Steve, do you want to pass it on to somebody?
Oh, I don't really know anybody, so I'll catch the first name that I can see. Divine? Is my pronouncing?
Davine, yeah.
Divine?
Nadine?
Thank you.
Davey. So I'm in Asheville and finally feeling the knot in my stomach disappearing. So while it might not be a perfect solution with Joe Biden, it certainly is preferable to being under a bunch of fascists and murdering right-wingers. So, you can't have it all. So I'll take what I'll take what we've got with pleasure.
All right. Well, that was simple and to the point. Do you want to pass it on, Davey? You're on mute.
Lori
Okay.
at WERA.
Thank you. Sorry, was a little late, but I'm happy to be here. I'm Lori at WERA LP in Arlington, Virginia. So we are close to the action. So we did not come into the studios yesterday just as a precaution, but also just to kind of have a day of, there's only two of us really right now. But I did watch some of the proceedings and yeah, I have a slight sense of relief, but it's cautionary because, I know there's still a lot of work to be done. And being so close to DC, we are affected. We were under curfew on the 6th as a neighboring jurisdiction. And, I have an appreciation for music like you do, Steve. I'm not quite a musician, but I grew up in a musical family. And while I appreciated, those performances like you did, I found it, for me personally, my apartment in South Arlington is close to the Pentagon. I could hear the fireworks before they actually showed them on TV when Katy Perry was singing. But the thing that I couldn't get over was the sheer emotional release I had yesterday when Kamala was being sworn in. I didn't expect that from myself, but I let it happen. It's not all of a sudden fixed. There's a lot of work to still be done, but I feel, the knot's not completely gone from my stomach, but it's loosened. So one day at a time.
Yeah, for sure. And let's see, who do we have left? Why don't we go to Sharon?
Hi, everybody. Well, great to see you. I guess we're just talking about our reactions.
Yeah, we're just talking about initial reactions.
Oh yeah, no, I'm excited. I feel amazing, honestly.
Can you remind everybody where you're from?
Sure, I'm with WXOX in Louisville, Kentucky, and we've had a hard year, of course. Still so many problems locally and globally, but I'm just, honestly on cloud 9 that we made it. I was on pins and needles the entire month, especially after the 6th. Really believing that there could be some kind of military coup and the Trump administration could decide to stay in power. And the moment that Kamala was sworn in, I was literally screaming and running around my house and just thrilled, just so relieved that the baton had actually been tossed to the next crew, tossed literally, not a very nice handoff. But yeah, just really feeling positive, and all the inauguration events I thought were wonderful. And obviously it's politics, and Biden's a politician, and Kamala's a politician. They're politicians, but at least they're on the really good side of things. I think they're really thinking about diversity and inclusion, and including, from their presentation, you could see that they're thinking about lots of other voices that have really been stifled over the past 4 years, and was really happy about the actions that the new president took as soon as he was in office, including the decorations within his office, so so I think I feel like, seriously, I've been on a bad acid trip for 4 years, and yesterday I woke up to see that there was actually sunshine again, and I was literally crying. I mean, I was crying all day long with happiness. So yeah, it's not perfect, and it probably never will be, but I think we've got something good to work with now. So Hell yeah. Anyway, so I'll pass it on to whoever hasn't been. I tuned in late, so maybe
Let's see. Okay, let's go to Alicia.
Hi, everyone. I'm Alicia Sanchez from Santa Rosa, California. And yesterday, I actually, again, maybe now this is the third time I've been glued to the TV for a few hours. I normally don't do that, but for me, it was sort of like that kind of really great entertainment, very nice speeches of unity and all of this stuff. But, right after that, I had the same reaction that I had when Obama won the first time. And I was in Ohio, I think in Ohio, I was at that time working for a union that sent me to go and do, get out the vote and do phone banking over there. Anyway, I was in the hotel when, it became clear he was president. And as everybody was cheering and crying, I also felt that for, a few minutes. And then all of a sudden I felt this same feeling I felt yesterday. And that is that I said, oh shit, people are now gonna sit down and not do any more protesting or anything, because they're gonna think that the first Black man in the United States is gonna take care of everything and we're gonna be okay. And I felt such a sadness at that moment. And that's the same thing I felt yesterday. I kind of hated because I wanted to live, to stay in the moment of, sort of illusions, if that's the word. For a minute to say everything is gonna be okay. We're all gonna be, and especially us in immigration, all the people that I know were undocumented, and the DACA young people and all of that, and former poor people and everybody that I deal with, and then I realized, oh shit. We're all gonna, the ones that have been protesting, being out there fighting, and we're going to sit down and take a rest and turn it over to this two individuals, and we can't. And that's why I hope that we keep telling people, no, we gotta keep pushing them, because if we don't push them, they will go to the side of, because look, Obama deported more people than any other president, and so to me, I feel like that's something that we have to do as progressives and people on the left, and as people on public radio. We have to continue to educate people to keep the struggle going, that we got to not depend on that these two individuals are going to resolve all our issues, but that we got to be there, that we are the ones that make the change. We're the ones that push people to do the right thing. And so, yeah, so I'm hoping that's what we'll continue, at least that's going to be my message constantly, to say, let's not make the mistake we did with Obama, where we sat down and said, there's not going to be any more war. I'm a woman in Black that, it's against war. And it turns out that, all of a sudden our numbers drop because, hey, this is a guy, he's not going to take us to war, blah, and, anyway. So anyway, but I'm going to enjoy this for a little bit. Anyway, thank you.
Enjoy it, but don't rest too long. Thank you, Alicia. Heather Gray. You are muted, Heather Gray.
Sorry, I didn't pass it on to the next person.
Oh,
I'm
that's
sorry.
okay.
So thank you. I didn't get to hear everyone, but I did some, of course, and we're primarily talking about the inauguration, right?
Yes. Yep.
Right, Stephanie?
Yeah, we're just getting initial thoughts right now. And
yeah, no, it was remarkable. So, and I'm sorry, I didn't hear everyone's comments. I'm going to take this off for a moment. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I was just thinking, just so you all know, I'm with WRFG in Atlanta, Georgia. We're an affiliate to and I'm also to Pacifica, and I'm also serving actually as an affiliate board member on Pacifica. So I'm always interested in ideas from folks that I could share with the Pacifica board. I'm just putting that out as just food for thought, and maybe we can have more of a discussion about that sometime, Stephanie. But
sure.
So my background, I've been involved in, I have a radio program on WRFG, it's called Just Peace, but I've been involved in civil and human rights work in the South. I used to work for Coretta King, actually. So I've been steeped in King and steps of nonviolent social change. And to me, what's really essential as far as whatever we do with this administration, it is that we need to have, as Dr. King would say, you need to have clarity on what it is you want changed, right? And so he said, don't ever just go out in the streets and demonstrate. If you're going to go out in the streets or you're complaining about something, know specifically what it is you want, right? And have a discussion with people that you're engaged with to come up with some ideas on what needs to be changed. And then, you know, if things don't work, you come back and have more of a dialogue. But I need to say that the steps of nonviolent social change have really been instrumental for me in countless things that I've been involved with. And my primary work actually has been with Black farmers across the South, with the Federation of Southern Cooperatives, helping farmers hold on to their land. But we don't need to go into all of that. I just wanted to share that. So basically, yes, I'm with WRFG in Atlanta, but my work has been regional. And so for future reference, Stephanie, thanks everyone.
Thank you, Heather. It's nice to see your face. Usually we see you on the phone or don't see you on the phone.
Oh yeah, right. Right.
So we have two people left. We have someone at a 1423 number. I don't know if is that the vertical or is that someone else? Are you able to talk? Yeah. Okay. How about the iPhone person? iPhone LVD.
That's Louis Vandenberg.
Oh, hi, Louis. How are you?
Hey, hi. So my response or my analysis of what or my take on it would be this: that I'm a huge critic of Joe Biden. I did not support him. I've met him. I thought he was shallow and fatuous. He supported the Iraq War. He was the number one person supporting the Iraq War in the Democratic Party. He did the bankruptcy bill, which hurt a lot of people of color, a lot of poor people. Crime bill, same thing. I really have a lot of problems with Joe Biden. However, in watching the inauguration, I wept with joy that he was elected president and that Donald Trump did not continue. It's really important not to underestimate the damage that Donald Trump has done, and the fact that he attempted to perpetrate a coup on American democracy. And I really like the idea of democracy. I do not want to lose this democracy. So the threat that was posed there, which I think is absolutely real, he wanted an excuse to impose martial law, and he almost got it. And that these people, who are the same people that marched in Charlottesville, invaded what's called the citadel of American democracy. Lots of ways to criticize it, but at least the democracy allows things to evolve and change, and we're not just fixed in place with the mind of the city of Donald Trump or someone like that in place. So that Biden was elected, and he also seems to be rising to the occasion in a way that I have not seen from him before. Was an enormously emotional thing for me. I've been involved in politics, and I see politics has virtues of actually being able to affect change. And I think the possibility is there, even though there are some people in the administration, particularly in the foreign policy area, that I don't like. I'm just incredibly enthusiastic that Donald Trump is not there. I want to see him prosecuted without any question.
Yes.
And I want to see him absolutely destroyed. That he and all of those people that took selfies of themselves as if somebody made them believe that they could wreak utter havoc and it would be cool for them. They'd be celebrated. And I also saw that as an example, as of an unmitigated example of the perversion of white privilege. Because if you do a little thought experiment and put black people in there, they'd all be shocked. And they'd be worse with Muslims going in there. It would have been an absolute rout. No one would have been emerged from there alive. So, and then my final thought is that I think we all have to stop and recognize, acknowledge, and appreciate the fact that African Americans saved American democracy. So we have this thing with African Americans. They, in a very substantial sense, built the United States. And now they have saved it. And this is a reality. The votes that they were trying to suppress were African American votes. And so I point to their activation in the intense way is record numbers. The murder of George Floyd, that heinous footage caught by that 17-year-old woman, that in a way, it is that death that catalyzed the nation to oppose what Donald Trump was doing. That and the utter bankruptcy and ruin of his idiotic COVID response. So all of that together comprises my reaction to the inauguration. Thank you.
Thank you, Louis. We got a lot from everyone. Thank you. Do you guys want to delve into any of these issues further? Where do you want to go from here?
I've got to say one thing.
Okay,
I interviewed a filmmaker this morning. His name is Morgan Peckman, and he filmed the movie Get Me Roger Stone. And he said, we have not heard the last of either Roger Stone or Trump. So all of you guys that are breathing a sigh of relief, I think you're breathing a sigh of relief too soon. I think Trump will be back in one form or another, and we are not out of the woods with Trump yet. That's what I think.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. I don't know if anyone would think he's just going to disappear.
To me, I agree in that sense, but I also feel like how can I say it? I feel like we gotta stop being afraid. We have to start saying we cannot just get so distracted that we don't focus on the power that we have, because I feel that when people are afraid and they get that already, start thinking and you paralyze yourself. You end up forgetting your own power, the sense of what you have. And so to me, I always feel like that we gotta just, of course we know he's not gonna give up that easily. When does a bully give up that easily, or somebody that, but the point is that, hey, put it aside, let it be. Let's not, what I call, don't get there before you get there. Don't, put that aside to the side and focus on what we need to do. And that is that right now we have the opportunity to push these two individuals who are still like, in what is it called? I agree with the brother who just spoke right now, Louis, who said, I think it is the people who made these two individuals do the decisions that they're making right now. It is they're right now, they're listening to us, and we gotta let, so for me, I look at, talk to the hand to anybody who tells me that he's gonna, right now, I'm not going to let fear get to me. I'm not going to do that, because that's what has happened for 4 darn years. People got so damn fearful and so scared of this guy and everything, that we tolerated it and everything until we decided to, we hit bottom, I guess, in a way. The thing that happened on January 6th is that, for people of color and other poor people of every color, we've gone through all that shit of people coming into our homes and invading us and doing everything. But what happened with this thing in January 6th is that it hit people who never had any kind of invasion come to them. That's why they got so darn scared. And then they're the ones that are at least have become enlightened, and that, oh my God, they really are coming into my house now, into something that, is sacred and all of this. So to me, I just feel like, yeah, this interview you had, I feel like, yeah, we know that this is not over yet, but we gotta just put it off, for focus on the positive, focus on our own power that we got, that we gotta keep going. We gotta have that ganas, that si se puede kind of attitude, and to me, I feel that, I feel like that, it's just important for us to do that, to just not forget our own power. And that, and the other thing is that, for me, I feel like deep down, every human beings are just wonderful people. Deep down, at one point, we come together and we respect each other. We're compassionate people, and that's what we gotta focus on right now. Not on this son of a gun that just passed through here for years and ruined the stuff. It's like he's a memory in my thing. And let's move on to a better future right now.
Right on.
Oh, yeah, that's so good.
Side note, Alicia, did you say desapuede? Is that like a chutzpah?
Si se puede is what, remember Obama did that, and Dolores Huerta got upset with him from the United Farm Workers, because she said, you stole that from me. And actually it was her. It wasn't even Cesar Chavez who coined the word. Si se puede means we can do it,
Si se puede. Oh, si se puede. Okay, yeah.
Si se puede. It can be done. And so that's what, but yeah, it's the attitude that we have here at KBBF.
Alicia,
Nice.
Alicia, ¿cómo se dice en español? You don't get there until you get there.
Oh.
Is there an expression for that?
I don't, well, no llegues allí, no llegues allí hasta que llegues. No llegues allí hasta que llegues. Don't get there till you get there. And believe it or not, let me just tell you, I think I invented that in my household.
I like it.
but let me tell you, my husband, but of course, I fail too sometimes. I get so stressed out about certain things, and my husband now brings it back to me. He goes, don't get there before you get there. And I go, hell, I always respond like, hell, I already went there, came back, went and visited again, came back. So anyway, but it's just something I keep telling myself to be mindful, to tell myself when I panic about something, is don't get there before you get there. I keep it's a mantra I try to remind myself, because
that's a good
because
one.
many times I failed, and I, like I said, I get there before I get there, but I bring myself back to the present as much as I.
Stephanie? I'm sorry.
I see Davine wrote that she had a comment, and then who was that who just spoke?
Heather.
Then Heather, do you want to go after Davine?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
So much of the pattern of Trump and his supporters coincides exactly with the gaslighting that happens in any abusive relationship. And I read yesterday on Twitter that many of us are suffering PTSD, but it's post-Trump. Stress disorder.
Yeah.
And even with the Republicans coming up now, we need to make nice and reconcile. That is exactly the pattern of an abuser. Like, I'm going to be good now. You should let go with what I've done, and then they turn around and start all over again. So I was in a bad relationship once in my life, and I was in it for 4 years. And it honestly took me about a year and a half of living alone in the middle of a little cabin in the woods to heal from that PTSD. And so I've been pissed off since 2016 about this kind of abusive, gaslighting person in my face every day. And so part of my relief is that he's not able to do that from the bully pulpit anymore. So it's not that we think, oh, everything's fixed now. No, it's very obvious that it's not fixed. The backlash to Obama being elected has been the catalyst, or Obama being elected, that was the catalyst for these people crawling out from under the rocks they've been living under. And now we know who they are. We certainly know it locally. We know it, anyone who exposed themselves nationally. We know who they are, and we're watching.
Yeah, that seems to be an important part of not going back to normal, is holding people accountable who are part of it. And I agree with that too. Part of that relief for me too, I had that same experience of, oh my God, I didn't realize how much I felt like a hostage. And not even just felt like a hostage, but felt like I was being told I was not a hostage while I was a hostage. And that relief of not having to feel that anymore was potent. You were next.
And it's going to take a time to heal.
Yes, sure. Right. Yes, it's not going to be a day. Right. Heather?
Oh, well, I just wanted to mention, I think one of the things, maybe a lot of people already know about this, but I started doing research on QAnon, for example. Just wanted to know something about their background. I've been wondering, and so I wanted to mention that one of the sources that I use for this kind of research is the Southern Poverty Law Center in Alabama. Do you all know about this? Do most of you know about the Southern Poverty Law Center? Okay, because they do good research on far-right groups, and they also have a whole narrative about the history of QAnon. But I think I'm also really interested in knowing about who's funding these groups, right? And I've done some research on that, or if anybody knows something about that, I'd love to know that. I think we need to know that. We need to have a better feel for who is putting money into supporting this effort. So I'm also asking that question, I guess, as well. So if anybody knows. So that's it for right now anyway.
I feel like I saw someone on Twitter who was doing that. I'll try to keep an open mind, keep a watch if that name comes up again, someone who's been following that.
Okay, great.
Did you want to say something, Steve?
Yes, I did. It may be, I can't say because I don't know everybody very well, but I may be a rare case in the kind of environment that we're in right now with this conversation of someone who actually spends most of his time with the, for lack of a better word, because that's just how the media has been calling it, your rural blue collar working class white men. I am in a volunteer fire department. And I have made 100% of our January calls. So I am really putting my time in with the people that you would imagine to be on the opposite side of this fence. And there are just a couple of observations that I want to make from that perspective, from that kind of inside perspective. Like, I'm given full access in this environment. In this environment, nobody's like, hey, that's the lefty guy. Be careful, don't speak openly around him. Like I have access in this environment. And a couple of things that I've been observing in my immediate circles is that everybody's out buying bullets. Everybody is giving each other, well, if they were out here, try this store down that, like everyone's referring each other, you know, asking them like what gauge they need and telling them which places they need to go to where they might not have run out yet. That's happening. And so, you know, what we saw on January 6th may have been something we should look at as more of a shot across the bow, much the way, and I'm listening to the conversation here, is that we were supposed to have viewed the enormous popularity of Sarah Palin back in 2008 as a shot across the bow. I mean, she too was mentally unbalanced and narcissistic and unfamiliar with the basics of government, and yet she eclipsed John McCain tremendously and was filling stadiums, and we missed that, and I want to be cautious about not doing that again, not missing that this may be round one, right? Sarah Palin was the warning that Trump was coming, and for 8 years and not just us, the establishment Republicans also did nothing to confront. Was that just a blip and now it's gone? Okay, the crazy lady's gone. You know, no, it turned out it wasn't. It turned out that was just the first one on the dance floor. And then everyone sees that it's okay and they come in and fill in behind that, right? Fox News already announced yesterday that they had fired their journalist who called the election for Biden, and that they're going to be reducing even the amount of quote unquote news coverage that they have in favor of more opinion time. So the direction that those people have been under really since 1996 is being escalated as we speak. You know, Trump's individual voice is stepping back. But many other voices are filling in behind it. The lack of Twitter for Trump doesn't matter if Fox is going to be escalating, if Breitbart's going to be escalating, they still have that access. And the other thing I was going to say is that, you know, accountability, yes, accountability is absolutely necessary because we do want to show that the rule of law is the rule of law, right? And what you said about the approach to an abusive relationship, like absolutely not, right? You don't want to restore anybody's sense of confidence by showing that you can go back in that direction. But what we really need to be doing right now is the best thing that would work is if we popped their balloon, right? Okay, if we took all the wind out of their sails by making sure that the conditions of American life that made people so angry gradually over such a long period of time get taken away, give people health care, give people much higher incomes, give people the belief that their children can afford to go to college. You know, now that we're in a service economy and not in a manufacturing and mining economy, give people the belief that if they go to work in renewable energy, they'll be able to make as much money as they were making when they were working on an oil rig. You know, we can actually stop this. This is all about our living conditions, you know, about like the people that are in power now can prevent the pendulum from swinging back by just giving everybody what they thought they were going to get when they became so contrarian about never getting it, whether it was an establishment Republican or establishment Democrat, to lose their minds the way they did after so much media barrage that was going on. I think that, you know, I really liked what Alicia was saying. You know, this is the time, yes, let's feel some relief. I'm all in favor of feeling relief for a couple of weeks because when you're tense, you don't make good decisions. So the fact that we have the opportunity to experience relief right now is great, and we should use that so that we can get our heads back into a rational decision-making place. Because as Alicia said, we really need to step up and exert people power now, because if the Wall Street and the war machine are going to be exerting their power. I mean, look, Biden already announced that we're continuing in a state of hostility with Venezuela for no apparent reason whatsoever. The war machine is keeping up their pressure. That's what happened with Obama, right? These other reactionary forces kept up the pressure in their ordinary business interest, their for-profit interest, and we felt so much relief we all went home. And so who got what they wanted, right? The people that stayed in the game got what they wanted. So yes, the relief, I would never advocate that we not enjoy the relief, because we need to relieve the tension and get back to rational decision-making. But the rational decision-making has to be about how to pressure the current administration to take the wind out of Sean Hannity's sails. Like just give his followers, more than just the talk that they get from him, so that they don't care about listening to him anymore. Make that reward go around. And so I'm actually, as I'm going to stop now, I'm going to do this. I just uploaded my first episode of my new program today. And it is really about this topic. It is about the reality of people saying, this isn't who we are. This actually is who we are. This is who we've always been. This country, the idea of unity is a very dangerous myth, because we were founded as two separate countries with two different sets of values and two different kinds of economies that were grafted around a free trade and a mutual defense pact. This did not really start with Trump. I can source it in my own lifetime to when George Wallace left the Democratic Party in 1968, and he won 5 states in the South. And then all those people became Republicans after that election cycle. The moral majority, Newt Gingrich and the contract with America, and then the Tea Party. This has been a slow, corrosive thing. And I think that if we start with the step of acknowledging that the Constitution, with the 3/5 compromise and the Electoral College and everything that was done to make it impossible to democratically evolve out of this two-country system, and acknowledge it for what it is, then we can actually soberly strategize about how you put that to good use. So if anybody wants to go onto the page now where things are being posted, I just put it up. The name of the program, it's on AudioPort, and it's called This Is Who We Are, with a capital Is, not This Is Who We Are, but This Is Who We Are. And I'd really love it if people would give it a listen and give it a shot, because we're a divided country, and if we don't do something, the pendulum will swing back as it has always swung back. And every time it swings back much more forcefully and destructively than before. We're in an unfortunate state right now. I used to tell Cynthia about this on our interviews, what I call a post-solution America. Most of us don't care anymore. The Republicans campaigned by saying that if the Democrats win, America as we know it will disappear. And the Democrats campaigned by saying, if the Republicans win, America as we know it will disappear. And that's all everybody believes now. And, we're still in that that Mason-Dixon line mentality. I'm hoping that the discussions I'm going to try to hold on this program for 58 minutes a week will be a way for people to understand some of the things that I get to see as a rural volunteer firefighter, because it is kind of odd if you think about it. Why is someone like me so readily accepted in this environment? I should be their worst nightmare. I'm a New York City left-wing, socialist Jewish intellectual. Like, I should have no access in this environment whatsoever, but I have complete access. And I see that as a remarkable opportunity, as a place to go looking for how to keep the next Sean Hannity approved candidate from coming back in 4 years.
Stephanie,
Yes.
can I don't know if I just wanted to say something as well. Is that
Sure.
possible? Or?
Yes. Go ahead, Heather.
Okay, so I just want to, Steve, I want to thank you so much for your analysis. And I just wanted to mention that I sent out an article. I'm a writer as well. I sent out an article in the past week and a half about the coup against Roosevelt in the 1930s. There were wealthy Americans who did not appreciate his New Deal policies that basically would help workers, help the white working class, and so forth, right? And many of these same corporate elite in America ended up also supporting Hitler during the war. So I was drawing some parallels with what was happening with Trump, actually. And I also need to say that one of my friends who, Stephanie, I think has met as well on some virtual calls or whatever, is Wendell Paris, who's a longtime organizer in Mississippi. He was telling me a few years ago, he said, look, the Klan, the Ku Klux Klan, won't do anything until they first get the approval from the white elite. And Reverend Lowry, who used to be the head of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, told me, he said, look, Heather, the Klan is now sitting in boardrooms. So I'm just mentioning this as food for thought and something for us all to consider a little bit more as we're doing an analysis of what's been happening in America. So just wanted to mention that also.
Thank you, Heather. Anyone else want to go?
I could dive in.
All right, Sharon.
Well, I just want to say thank you to everybody. I mean, this has been a great conversation. I think there's Cynthia for bringing it up, that we can't forget in the midst of this celebration, you know, that there's this evil lurking. It is still lurking there, whether it's Trump or, you know, the masses that have been incited. And also, Alicia, wonderful, I think, advice also to focus on, you know, our mission and what is important to us, and spend less time thinking about what the other side is doing or whatever. So that's going to be a great relief to me. And then Steve, really interesting comments there about what's going on. I mean, we're in a little bit of a bubble here. So, you know I am. I eliminated a lot of people from my newsfeed along the election cycle. So I'm definitely in a bubble. So it's great to hear like what's happening. Scary to know that, you know, people are really arming up right now and wondering, you know, I was expecting more on Inauguration Day and wondering if this silence is indicative of something further to come. I guess, you know, we'll get there when we get there, right? But I think what's really important for us as radio people to remember is that it really is the media that has incited this crowd and this mentality, and it's getting this news feed, whether it's Fox News or conservative radio. It's just crazy. I'm in Louisville, but if you drive up into Indiana, the radio becomes like all conservative talk up in northern Indiana. There's like, you know, there's like a couple, you know, like rock stations, a couple country stations, and the rest is, you know, either Christian, which kind of goes into the conservative talk, or they're just these conservative talk shows that are just so hateful and so agitating. And you just think, you know, there's people out here and they don't, you know, they're working, they're in their cars, they don't have access to the internet, and their only form of entertainment is to listen to these radio shows. And they might not even like them, but it's just the only thing there. And it's more interesting than hearing the same rock song, you know, 50 times an hour. So I don't know what the answer is, but I think it's really important for us to recognize our own power as radio stations. And, you know, we're not a political station, we're a music station, but we do a number of public service announcements, you know, informative things for our community where they can get educated, or they can get registered to vote, or they can get involved in politics. And I just think it's really important for us to think over the next 4 years, you know, what our influence is on the mass public, and how can we counteract, you know, all this hate and aggression that's being put out on the other radio stations. And, you know, Steve is making a show, so that's a great thing. We all have radio stations, but just to be a little more conscious over the next 4 years of our role. We have a very rare, you know, microphone here in our communities, and how can we use those to keep things on a good track? And I don't know what the answer is, but it's just important for us to think about.
Thanks, Sharon. Anyone have any thoughts following Sharon and Steve and Heather?
You know, I wanted to just, I have to leave, unfortunately. This is such a great discussion. I have a 2 o'clock meeting, but you know, one of the things I always say is, in my own journey that I've done, is when I used to hate white people, you know, and didn't, you know, like them and everything else. And I always tell my story about how, you know, I still believe in a higher power. So even though as radical as I am, I believe in a higher power. And I always say that higher power always tries to make me, my creator always tries to make me a better person. And I fight it sometimes, but I ended up meeting a white guy from Alabama who taught me about racism, and that it wasn't about color, that I hate to hate people, but that it had to be about class. He said, even though I'm blue eyes and blonde hair, I'm not. I grew up poor in Alabama. I fought to, you know, with against white supremacy and got put in jail when he was trying to get the help in Alabama for the vote for African Americans. And so he taught me a lot about that. And he's become, even though he's now my ex-husband, he's still my mentor and my best friend. And he's the one that expanded me to think beyond, so that I know that I have, as much as it may be hard to believe, but I know that I have probably more in common with the white collar workers that Steve's talking about than Ted Cruz, or somebody else that looks like me and talks like me. But the thing is that I know that we have to try to see if we can, I know in my fight for against racism, I always still try to make sure that, that I understand who's the ones that creating this racism. And it is those powerful 1% and people that don't even know they don't even see us. There's a saying in Spanish that eyes cannot see, heart cannot feel. So I feel like they just look at us as numbers, and they're trying to increase their profits and everything. But so we ourselves who are here in the bottom of all of this, we gotta just find a way to try to talk to each other, as difficult as it is, that try to find some commonality and realize that we do have more in common with each other than we have differences. And so I'm hoping that this 4 years that at least that's what I'm gonna be focusing on, is reminding myself that, not to right away say white people are this and that, or, but right, to try to find more commonality and be willing to talk and with people, and just getting to know people. You'll find out that if you get to know people, you find out you have more things in common with them than differences. So anyway, yeah, thank you so much to all of you. This has been, I love this group. This is the group I come to every week. I try to make sure, because I don't feel alone. I don't feel alone, when I meet wonderful people like all of you. And I thank you so very much, especially because I agree with Sharon. We are in a position in this radio station, the airwaves are powerful. We can reach, and we gotta just keep that focus on trying to reach people in a way that they can hear us and listen to us. And so we just have to do what we have to do, our part. Anyway, thank you very, very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Alicia.
I think that's so true what you're saying, Alicia, about it. It's not a color of the skin thing. It really is a class thing. And those in power want to stay in power. And so they know that they're much smaller than we are. And they know that if we all came together and we all, focused on equality and justice for all, that we would rise up and we would make things fair. And they don't want that to happen. And so they sow these seeds of dissent amongst us, between women and people of color and all these and Latino people versus people from Asia, and they're sowing all these seeds of dissent, I think, amongst us to keep us from joining together, and to keep us from rising up, and to keep us from getting to a better place for all people, so that they can keep their treetop perch. And they create things, and they sow these seeds of hate and racism amongst us. And so what you're saying is so true, that we need to make sure that we see through that and break down those things and come together and recognize how powerful we are. If we could all just, get over these ridiculous, made up problems we seem to create about one another. But I agree also about this group. It's wonderful to have this conversation. Great to see you all your friends, and know you're out there. We're like little sailing boats out here, at least I feel like that here. So it's so good to come together and see everybody and talk about all these big things. But we are so important. We are the voice of the people, more than anything out there. Community radio, literally, we are the voice, and we have this opportunity to get voices on the airwaves. Not as much now during COVID, but certainly when our studios are open, to get diverse voices on the airwaves, and interesting, I think, is that we can introduce people from different classes and different segments of society to one another through the radio. You know, they hear their voices, they get to know them, they get to know a little bit of their personality. And so you're breaking down these walls. They talk about radio in Memphis, you know, back in the time of segregation, and they'd have Black radio stations and white radio stations. And, you know, basically you weren't allowed to play Black music on the white radio stations, but the teenagers were hearing, you couldn't segregate the airwaves, you know, the airwaves were free, you know, and you couldn't stop someone from listening to the, you know, you couldn't stop the white teenagers from listening to the Black radio stations. And they started going, hey, this music's even better. Like, we like this music, we like this. And they're singing about things that relate to us, and we're feeling the humanity. And all of a sudden, you know, they kind of talk about how radio during those days was, you know, one of the first moments of pulling down these walls of segregation, because they couldn't stop it. So, you know, I just always think that's really inspiring, because what radio can do, even through music, is just give someone a sense of someone else's humanity. And that seems like what, you know, racist and bigot, you know, people need, is just to be able to understand these are people too, and they're feeling the same things as you, and they're having the same emotions as well. So like, let's put all this bullshit behind us and just everybody get together, you know?
Yes.
Oh, I have something to say about this.
What's that?
So Stephanie, so, you know, I started noticing back in 2013 and 14 on local social media, targeting our local newspaper and dismissing them, and using their kind of microphone to establish some sort of distrust against the media locally. And then you started seeing it the minute that Trump got on, about, you know, the mainstream media and the fake news and all of that. And so there's a history of this happening. When radio first came out and had its first broadcast in 2020 or 1920, not very many people had a radio for that first 10 years or so. Well, in Germany, in Hitler's Germany in the early 30s, they built a cheap radio, and it was called the Volksempfänger. And it only would play Hitler's programming that that obviously carried his message. Well, you know, you can imagine in the new world of having communication like you never had been able to have it before, people would pay attention. And when Albert Speer was being tried in Nuremberg, he said that it was Hitler's propaganda message. And one of the things about that radio was you could only listen to Hitler's radio stations. And if you were caught not listening to something else through a shortwave, it was you were sentenced to the concentration camps. And after Voice of America came out in 1933 and began broadcasting from outside of Cincinnati, it became a death sentence if you were listening to any radio but his or theirs. And so, and I saw that same pattern with what Trump was trying to do to stop people from trusting anyone but Trump and his media's messages. So this is nothing new. It's happened before. That's why it was so scary to me, because you could see the same pattern that was exercised back in the 30s with Hitler and Goebbels. So I just wanted to throw that in there, because radio is still free, and it's very accessible to everyone, especially now with the internet, when you can get it out on the internet along with your 100 watts around town.
Oops. Yeah, for sure. And what you guys have been saying has made me think too about that, because especially what Steve was saying about Sarah Palin kind of being the shot across the bow. And that made me think that, you know, it's actually, well, for me, for my lifetime, I mean, I've seen it since the early 90s. You know, you see this alternate reality being built up by starting with like Rush Limbaugh and then Fox, and then where it gets to that point where it's so big that kind of like similar to, you know, and I also agree with you, Steve, that you said, you know, you can't just sit down once you in once someone who you think is on your side or, you know, gets in there, you got to keep going. And other people were saying that too. And I definitely learned that from Obama. I was very starry-eyed with Obama, and I learned that you can't do it that way. You can't be, you gotta hold them accountable too, and you gotta keep paying attention no matter who's up there. And though I also think like with the mainstream being in power, and that's sort of the same idea as, you know, you still got it, just because it's mainstream doesn't mean it's the right direction, right? Though also with, you know, like you were saying with like Sean Hannity, we got to say things that will make people want to turn away from him and listen to other people. But I feel like with people like Sean Hannity at that level, it's just about power. No matter what kind of healthcare plan you put forward, he's going to call it a death panel because they don't want to give credit to anyone else. Like Mitch McConnell would not give any, you know, he had 200 bills sitting on his desk. He wouldn't want to give any credit to Obama. But ultimately, that doesn't mean to stop, right? Like that's what I'm hearing from everyone here is that it doesn't matter. We recognize the, you know, lies that come out, and what you still put your voice out there anyway. And you still, and with what we've gone through, saying, you know, try to do it in a way that's human, and just in a way to keep trying to connect and saying, yeah, we agree. Like, what do we agree on? That the economy is stupid, and you know, we want everyone to have a job that they can go to and not feel put upon. We want everyone to feel like they're heard. We want, you know, and that's what I'm hearing you guys say, that you want to keep that going, and in a way that's conscious of what you're putting out there too.
Stephanie, this is Heather. Can I say something here? Or
Yeah.
I so appreciate your comments, for one. Thank you for that. I wanted to mention to Steve, when you were talking about Newt Gingrich, I just want everybody to know, if you don't already know, that the major county, so I'm here in Atlanta, right in Georgia, the major county that he was a part of was Cobb County, and this last election, it voted Democratic. So, but yes, I know, it was great. So,
Cobb County, Heather.
You know,
That's my county, Heather. That's my mom and everybody down there.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really proud of them.
All right. Well, just
Yeah.
remember.
So we've seen changes in Atlanta since we had the first Black mayor, Maynard Jackson, in 1973 in Atlanta. There's been huge changes in the surrounding counties of Atlanta. And then the other thing I want to tell you all too is that, I don't know if I mentioned this in a meeting prior to this, I apologize if I have, but I was working with a group here in the South where we were doing what we could to support Shirley Sherrod in South Georgia, who was working in predominantly Black counties in the southwest part of the state. A lot of those counties are predominantly Black. And she was just wonderful in what she did. We were helping to raise money to help her pay workers to go into these counties. It was really, really good. I just want to tell you, there's been a lot of great work that's been done in all of the election, just generally, but I'm so thrilled with what happened in Georgia. So
Yeah, no, this is great. This is true, but it's important to remember. It's really, really important to remember that these kinds of swings have happened in federal election cycles in the past, and for the exact same reasons, you know, because things became terrible. You know, Obama won by such a huge majority, you know, in 2008, because conditions were terrible. We had been at war for years. The economy was collapsed. Everybody was losing their jobs, and people stepped up and said, we need an intervention. We need to reverse all this, right? But then it was just 2 years later that both houses of Congress were lost. You know, same thing back in 1992. In the election of 1994, both houses of, there's Newt Gingrich and the contract with America, both houses of Congress were lost. And so we are in one of those crisis moments again. And so just going back to what I was saying before, if we're not going to relive 1994, if we're not going to relive, 2010, then that motivation needs to stay ever present. And so the people that were motivated to come out, what happened in 2010 never talked about in this infamous, everyone called it a shellacking, this shellacking by the Republican Party in taking both houses of Congress. The Republicans actually got a considerably lower total of votes in that election than they had gotten in 2008 when they got their butts kicked. The reason that there was a shellacking was literally because 30% of 2008's Democrat voters stayed home in 2010. The vast staying home of 2010 was spectacular. The Republicans did not gain any votes. They lost votes in 2010 from 2008, and they still were able to take over both houses of Congress. So the important thing today is to remember the lessons of 1994 and 2010 and make sure that the pressure stays on the new Congress and the new administration to make people feel motivated to keep them in place and stay out there. People need a lot to be motivated. It's easy to be motivated when Donald Trump is in charge of the country. It is so easy to generate motivation. And when there's an enormous medical crisis, that this of historic proportions happening, it is easy to generate that motivation to come out. But 2 years from now, it's going to be Biden's economy, and whatever the state of our healthcare is going to be, that Biden's going to own that. If we don't get out of all these wars, and don't start any new ones like in Venezuela, if we don't get out of the 4 principal wars that we're in and make resources available to show that conditions in America can become something that Americans really feel vested in and concerned about and devoted to continuing, then God, damn, 2022 is going to be such a soul-crushing experience. It's important for those of us that care about these goals. When Joe Biden said during his speech yesterday that he's going to be every bit as much a president for the people who didn't vote for him as the people who did, we know that he meant the 74 million people who voted for Donald Trump. We know that he's trying to create that unity. We know that he was not talking about people who didn't vote for him because he was pro-war and because he was anti-Medicare for all, and because he wasn't talking about people like me, that used my electoral college advantage in a state as blue as New York to make that kind of statement. He's definitely not saying in his address that he's going to be as much a president for me as he is for the 74 million people who voted for Trump, and that is why people that are in an environment like Pacifica Media and that general end of the activist network need to do the exact opposite of what we did in 2008. We have to really step up our game right now, because whoever is applying the most pressure is going to get what they need and what they want. And we need to remember that that progressives stepping back is why 2010 happened. And that 2010 happened is why 2016 happened. If the bailout had gone to the homeowners instead of to the banks, and then been passed through the homeowners to the banks so that the banks would have been made secure, but the homeowners would have at least kept their houses, then just on that one thing, 2016 never would have happened. 2016 never would have happened. So we have to stay in. We have to really, increase our resolve right now. Like I said before, take the 2 weeks to breathe, to exhale, so that we're no longer under the stress and we can make rational decisions. But the most rational decision we can make right now is to not cede the field back to Wall Street.
Good point, Steve. Any other thoughts? No?
Let's hear from the
I have a-
ladies who didn't speak yet. We've got several people who haven't.
Jeannie or Lori want to say anything?
I have a thought, Stephanie.
I'm good, thanks.
Okay, Jeannie's good. Lori, looks like you're good. Okay, sure, Cynthia.
I think this conversation has been wonderful. And I think given the situation that we're in right now, I think a discussion like this, maybe like once a month, would be terrific.
Oh, like an open forum, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a new thing we're doing anyway, because we used to do our meetings only once a month and we had like a set presenter, but it's kind of relatively new that we're doing it once a week. And I'm guessing we will have open forums from time to time just by default, because we won't always be able to get a presenter for a week. So I don't think it's going to be uncommon. I don't think it'll be like a set part of the month. It'll kind of just be when there's a more specific roundtable that we don't have for that week, if that makes sense.
But I think what was said today is important, and the dialogue should keep going like this.
Yeah, well, it is important. Though I also want to make sure we get everyone's, people are running radio stations, they have other things on their mind.
Right,
I want to
I understand.
everybody. Yeah. Yeah, but I hear what you're saying. This was an excellent conversation. I'm really grateful for all of you today. Does anyone else have anything they want to add? Yeah, well, I just want to say again, thank you so much. This was great. It was so good to hear everyone's different point of views, and Lori and Jeannie, the new faces relatively new faces. I'm glad that you guys could join us too. And so until next time, keep on keeping on.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, everyone. Stay well, stay safe.
Yeah, that too.
Thanks.
Well, stay safe. Have a good rest of your week.
Thank you.